Hello, welcome everyone. We're going to get started here in just a second. Okay, thanks everyone for joining us today. I really appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us this morning. We're going to be talking today about the 7 biggest mistakes that practices make in their physician referral programs. A little bit of housekeeping. If you have questions during the presentation, please feel free to put those down. It should be at the bottom of your Zoom interface where it says Q&A, and we will definitely leave some time at the end to answer those for you. All right, so see a lot of familiar names here today. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Chelsea Treseder, and I am one of the co-founders of My Vitals Pro, and I have the distinct pleasure of being joined today by Lanissa Brantley. She has over 25 years of experience working with dozens and dozens of practices, building some of the industry's top physician referral networks. She herself has performed every physician referral role there is, from boots on the ground to healthcare sales exec. And she has built a physician referral blueprint to help practices like yours get more referrals from more doctors. She considers it her personal mission to guide ambitious practice leaders from chaotic and confusing referral networks to a world in which they can cultivate new patient referrals in a very strategic way with confidence and clarity. So today's session is not going to be super, head in the clouds and theoretical. This is going to be very practical. And it's going to be based on what Lanissa and I are seeing across tons of clinics in the United States, both in her personal experience as well as what we have in the MVP data set. So we're going to start with what's happening in the data in private practices right now, and why this conversation, I think, matters more now than ever. Really quick before I do that, again, see lots of people I know on here, lots of MVP users, but for anyone who isn't familiar with MVP, I think I need to take just a second to explain what it is so that the data that I'm going to share makes sense. MVP is Audiology and Hearing Care's business intelligence platform. We integrate directly with all of the major office management systems in the space, so we sit on top of the office management system. The features of MVP are too many to name right now, but they include things like setting SMART goals, predicting practice future performance, helping owners understand their position in their local market, benchmarking to like-size practices and peers, and also alerts when critical KPIs have meaningful changes. And what these features enable is the ability for practice managers to make smarter decisions faster, spot issues and opportunities early, and deliver confidence and clarity for leadership. So that really is the primary use case of MVP. We take data and deliver near real-time business intelligence to practice owners, managers, leaders, et cetera. But because MVP over the last 3 years has grown, quite a bit in size, we actually have a secondary use case of the data now. So because we have this robust underlying data set, we're able to understand industry trends, particularly in the private practice channel, in, again, near real time. So our mission is to have successfully fortified hearing care practices to compete and thrive in their local markets. And that's really that first use case I talked about, where an individual practice is using MVP to outperform their competitors. But our greater vision is a hearing care industry where independent practices are not only stronger, more sustainable, and more connected, but where we can all use shared insight and data intelligence to elevate the care that we're able to provide to patients and the long-term success of all of us who are invested in this space. And that's really where this secondary use case comes into play. So we pride ourselves on delivering timely insights to the industry that help us all understand what's going on at a national, at a regional level, and of course, in your own individual business as well. So some of you may have attended our 2025 year in review that we did 2 months ago or so, but I thought I would start today by showing some of the trends that we noticed in 2025 and then a little bit of what we're seeing so far in 2026, because I think it helps frame why we're talking about physician referral marketing today. So for years, growth in private practice hearing care was fairly predictable. And in 2025, that changed. New patient growth softened significantly. We saw decreases in pretty much every new patient KPI that we track in the data set, with the exception of ASP. I'm going to keep this really high level. I could say a lot more about this, but in the interest of time, I'm going to just kind of feed you the highlights here. But if any of this is interesting to you, again, reach out to me and I'd be happy to share kind of the full story with you that we went through a couple months ago. So this is a chart many of you have seen before. We're looking at the kind of the aging of the baby boomers here. The growth in the 65 plus category is accelerating. That means hearing loss prevalence is likely increasing. We've got more awareness than ever about hearing care solutions. I mean, OTC, things like that. So everything about this market, based on a chart like this, says that we as an industry should be seeing more new patients, not fewer. So if we look here where we track new patient appointments in the MVP data set against this chart, what you'll see is that we're not keeping up. And given what we see in the purple bar charts, even flat new patient growth would be disappointing. And actually, we're shrinking. So, I think a lot of us have kind of always assumed that the top of the funnel would just easily refill. But that assumption seems to be a little bit broken here. If we look specifically at new patient referral sources across the data set, for years, one channel has consistently been number one. And of course, that's physician referrals here. Not even really close if you look across all of the years. But interestingly, as we look here in 2026, online has actually overtaken physician referrals as the number one driver of new patient private pay hearing aid unit sales. So you can see online has been ascending for many years. We have some theories about, why we might be seeing this dip in physician referrals being kind of overtaken by online. Again, I don't have time to fully get into it, but it's in our year in review as well. But there may be a bit of a broken referral pipeline there. Why it's happening is definitely interesting. And, like I said, we posit some theories. And today we're going to kind of be focusing on, okay, so what do you do about it? So just a quick look at what we kind of see happening in real time here. Like I said, in 2025, we saw new patients dip across the board. And interestingly, physician referrals declined alongside managed care and TPA related referral sources. The only channel that grew in 2025 was online. And that's great that it's growing, but with new patients soft, it's not replacing what we're losing. And I think that's, sometimes an assumption we can fall prey to, which is, okay, if my physician referrals dip, I'm just going to make up those patients in other marketing referral sources. One, we're not doing that. And two, even if we were, online patients behave differently. They're more expensive than physician referrals. So even if we could do that, it would have, impacts on the bottom line. The other thing that I wanted to call out here is that, when a physician refers a patient to your practice, that has a trust transfer that comes with it, right? They're not just random leads off the street. They are pre-qualified to trust your practice based on the trust that they have in their physician. So if we are generating more patients from other marketing referral sources, we're kind of starting from zero from a reputation and relationship standpoint with each patient. And, on the far right-hand side of this chart here, I threw in what we're seeing so far in 2026. Obviously, we only have about 1/4 of data so far, but physician referrals are, again, down considerably. So not to be all doom and gloom here, but, we know new patients are down. We know physician referrals are a huge driver of new patients, and we know that physician referrals are declining. So what can we do about that? And I think this is the perfect time to turn it over to Lanissa to take it from here.
Thanks so much, Chelsea. All right, let me pull up my slides here. Okay, perfect. So we are going to talk about the 7 common mistakes when building a physician referral network today. Are these some of the mistakes you're making, and is there a way that these can be corrected? Thanks so much for having me, and Chelsea for introducing me. For those of you I haven't met, I'm Lanissa Brantley. I'm so excited to be here with you today, spending this time with you. So before we dive into the mistakes, let's be reminded about what physician referrals can do for your practice. And a lot of times we think that to go out and get physician referrals, we have to go get everyone in our market referring all of their patients to us But if you think about it, five new referring doctors sending five patients a month equals 25 patients a month. So it doesn't take that many referring doctors sending that many patients to make a really big difference for your practice. Not only in your patient and your clinic volume, but also if we look at this from a potential financial impact, those same five doctors sending five patients a month, it's 25 patients a month. Most of us have 2 ears, so times 2 ears. And if we take the MVP data from Q1 of 2026, the average sales price per unit and the binaural fitting rates, what that can look like potentially financially is a monthly revenue of around $120,000 or an annual revenue of over $1 million for your practice. So it doesn't take that many referring doctors sending that many patients a month to make a big difference for your practice. So then we get back to the question of, okay, what do we do about it? Or what are some of the mistakes that we're making that maybe we're not even aware that we're making, and how can we fix that? So mistake number one is never getting started in the first place. I think we all instinctively know that, oh, it'd be great to have more physician referrals. But sometimes you think, I'll get to that, I'll get to that, I'll get to that. And it's easy to put on the back burner. But as we can see from the data, that is inhibiting growth for our practices and especially that new patient growth. And so, what is the solution to that? It's really just like Nike's philosophy, just do it. Doctors can't refer to you if they don't know who you are. Referred patients, as Chelsea mentioned earlier, they have higher conversion rates because they come to you pre-educated, pre-counseled, and excited to have their treatment with you. And so we see them at much further down in the funnel as in a decision-making process. So they are ready to have treatment with you. Also, this is a long-term patient acquisition strategy. So it's not dependent on algorithms. It's not depending on changing technology. So every once in a while, there will be a big upset in an algorithm or a big upset in the technology. And all of a sudden, you've lost a bunch of patient leads and you're struggling to catch up. With physician referrals, this is something that can be consistent and steady over many, many years as long as you're maintaining those referrals. So think about that. If you haven't got started yet, or if you've taken a pause on physician referrals, just think about what is one referring doctor sending just one patient a month or to your practice over a year's time. So getting started is mistake number one. And then mistake number two, relying on phone calls or emails instead of face-to-face office visits. It's easy to think, I'm just going to text this doctor or pick up the phone and try to call them or send them an email instead of make a face-to-face office visit. So what is the solution to that? The data tells us that field sales, which is face-to-face visits and face-to-face marketing, enjoys a 40% higher lead conversion versus 18% with inside sales. And inside sales are things like phone calls and emails. And so it allows you to build stronger relationships. There's a better opportunity to build that trust factor, which is really important between practices. And when you show up in person, they can't just put you on hold or hang up. They actually have to do something with you. There actually has to be some sort of engagement with the practice. And then there's also a much better opportunity for customer feedback. In those face-to-face visits, you can ask the questions like, what do you need from us? What are you seeing in the market? How can we help you? How can we support you? How can we better educate your patients? And so all those conversations that can really help build those relationships and build those trusts. Phone calls, emails, direct mail, those are a good supplement to face-to-face visits. They're the icing on the cake, but they're not the replacement. Mistake number three that you might be making in your practice is ignoring the opportunity to make the total office call when you are visiting these referring doctors' offices. And there's two common mistakes in this arena that practices make. And I would say, guess what these are and pop this up in the chat. Unfortunately, I can't see the chat, so I'll go ahead and tell you the answer. But if you want to go ahead and pop your guesses in the chat, that would be great. So, common mistake number one when failing to make the total office call is number one, breezing past the gatekeeper, breezing past the practice manager or referral coordinator, breezing past everyone in the office only to talk to the doctor. That's the first mistake. The second mistake is the actual flip side or opposite of that, and just going in, saying hi to the gatekeeper, dropping off some brochures, and turning around and leaving. And so, what is the solution here? Never underestimate the importance of the total office call. Take time to introduce yourself to everyone in the office. You never know who might be an influencer or who might be a decision maker. You don't know who might be the doctor's wife. You don't know who might be their daughter or niece or son, or you just don't know where those relationships are. And so there may be someone that you're talking to that's an influencer or decision maker. Also, taking the time to make sure the referral coordinator understands how to actually send that referral. What is the best way to communicate with you and your practice? Making sure that you're best friends with the gatekeeper. They're actually your ticket to get past the front desk and meet the doctor, meet the practice manager, meet other decision makers within the practice. And so making friends with them, making them your ally. Sometimes we walk in and we see the gatekeeper as our adversary, but really there's an opportunity there to make them your ally, asking them, what would you recommend? When would you recommend I come back? How do you recommend I meet with the doctor? They can actually really become a valuable asset to building your physician referral program. And then often overlooked is get to know the scheduler. The scheduler can actually tell you how many patients are being seen. If you walk into a potential referring practice and they're seeing a bunch of kids, maybe that's not the same demographic. Maybe that's not a practice where you're going to spend as much of your time as someone who's seeing a lot of elderly or aging patients. So getting to know the scheduler as well. Moving on to mistake number 4 that we're seeing a lot of. This is really common. We want to go in and we're so excited. This mistake comes from a good place. We want to go in and we're so excited about our practice. And we want to share all the things. We want to tell you about our services and our technology and all this high-tech jargon about our technology and what it does. But where we're missing the mark is we're not ever taking the time to explain why it matters to them. Why does it matter to your referring doctor? And why does it matter to their patients? And so there's an old saying, everybody listens to WIIFM. If you know what this means, go ahead and pop it in the chat. WIIFM. All right. Everybody listens to WIIFM stands for what's in it for me. Everyone wants to know what's in it for them. So when you're sharing your list of services, always add that so what part of the message. Why does that matter for their practice? Not just come in and, we do hearing aids and we do tinnitus and we do all the things and we're just going down the list. Why does that matter for their patients? How can you help their patients? And then also when you're talking about the technology, talking about what does the technology actually mean for the patient getting their life back, having a better quality of life, having better communication, conversations with their family, being safer. So all of these things. And so always remembering to end that message with why does it matter for them, their practice, and their patients. Mistake number 5 that you could be making with your referral network is having the wrong people on the team that negatively impacts your culture, or having the wrong person out in the field representing your practice. Who do you want representing you and your practice? So that's important to think about that when you're sending a physician liaison out in the field, but also internally. If your team culture is bad, the patient and the referring doctor experience is going to be also. And so really good referrals start with operational and team excellence. And then is the person representing your practice to referring doctors, are they the right person? Do they genuinely enjoy connecting with other people and building relationships? Do they have a passion for your practice? You cannot convey what you do not have. And so are they passionate about the practice? They're not going to be able to help your referring doctors be passionate about you if they're not passionate about you. And then also, do they have the grit and the tenacity to keep going on difficult days? There are going to be those difficult days where you hear no, where you see some gatekeepers that are doing their job a little too well. And so you've got to have somebody that's willing to keep going on the difficult days. And then I also recommend, this is a pro tip here, that you dedicate and stick to a time and a person for physician referral outreach. If your person that's doing outreach continually changes, or you've got 3 or 4 different people in the practice doing it, it's harder to build those consistent relationships. And if you don't protect that time that they're going out, then they end up not going out and you're not building those referral relationships. Okay, moving on to mistake number 6, not staying consistent. This happens a lot. Too many starts and stops to create and keep the momentum going with the referrals. And you've probably already seen this in your practice. Maybe you get a few referrals, it's going great, and then you don't get out for a couple of months and you see those referrals drop off. Or maybe you get a steady stream of referrals and you're happy about that. But then again, after a few months, those referrals drop off. So consistency is key. The other thing that consistency does is it helps us to leverage the rule of 7. And in marketing circles, what that is someone needs to interact with your brand 7 times before taking action. So the more consistent you can stay with getting out there, the more opportunity they have to hear your message and then to interact with your brand. So showing up consistently over time. And this one, it's not as sexy. We don't always like to hear it, right? We like to run to the new technology. We like to run to the new thing. But this is consistency over time is key for referral network success. Then mistake number 7, this is our last and final one for today, not tracking physician referral progress or return on investment for your efforts. So what's the solution to this? Measure what you treasure. If you are investing time and resources to go out and visit referring doctors, you want to know, are they referring? Who's referring? Are those referrals up? Are those referrals down? And how is that working out for our practice? So tracking those physician referrals, tracking your physician liaisons activity and progress as well. And there are really great apps that can help you with this. Then tracking those referrals over time, MVP is a fabulous tool for this. And so how many of those patients are being referred? Who's currently referring? Are those referrals up or down? And then you can dig into why. So leverage your technology and your resources to help with this. A lot of you actually already have this technology, but it's sitting around and maybe you're not even looking at it. So I'm excited for Chelsea to show us and dive in a little bit deeper into what MVP can actually do, how it can really show you what is going on with your referrals, if they're up and down, and then what we can do about it. If you want to keep in touch with me, you can find me on my website, lanissabrantley.com. You can also get on our newsletter where we share weekly insights and tips and tricks about how to grow your physician referral network. And you can contact me there. That's the best way to find me. And so then I'm going to kick it back to Chelsea so she can show us a little bit more about strategically how MVP can help us do this.
Great. Thanks, Lanissa. Can you just confirm you can see my slides? Okay.
I
Just
can
wanted to
see
make
them.
sure.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Yeah, so like Lanissa said, I mean, obviously here at MVP, we believe that tracking is super important. So I wanted to just show a screenshot here of one of the ways, there are multiple ways to understand and track your referral sources in MVP, particularly in this case, physician referrals. So this is a dedicated physician referral dashboard that focuses solely on this. It's something that you, as the practice owner or manager, can have access to. You can also grant access to this dashboard to marketing folks on your team, your physician referral liaison. And in MVP, obviously we have role-based access. So if you want your physician liaison seeing just this, but not what's happening, with every last little financial metric in your practice in any given period of time, we can grant them access to just this to help them manage those outreach efforts and understand the impact. So, pretty much everything that Lanissa mentioned that she believes you should track is available here in this dashboard. So you're able to see the number of referrals coming from the different physicians, and then also what sort of units and revenue are actually flowing from those referrals. Obviously, there can be a big mismatch. There can be very high volume refers where the actual revenue generated is low and vice versa. So again, not to say high volume refers that don't generate a ton of revenue aren't worth it. There's, still some benefit to that in the practice. But at least this helps you understand, which of those referring physicians tend to drive revenue generating activity in your practice. There's also the ability to see how referrals are changing over time. So like Lanissa mentioned, if you've got a physician who was referring a ton and those referrals have fallen off, that should be number one priority to get you or your liaison out there to find out why. Did the referral coordinator change and the new one doesn't know who you are? Are they sending to your competitors for some, competitive advantage they have over your practice, getting patients in quicker, working with payers that you don't, et cetera? So just being able to highlight where those potential issues slash on the flip side opportunities are in your practice is what this type of analytics is all about. And then I would be remiss if I left it at just that, because while understanding your referral sources and what's happening with your physician referral marketing is incredibly important, especially given everything we're seeing happen in the marketplace today. But at the end of the day, they are just one piece of the puzzle. Maybe your referrals are strong, but your conversion rate drops, or your schedule isn't optimized, or there are shifts happening in your payer mix that are going to determine which physicians you actually want to call on and try to drive business from. So, with anything, you can't fix what you can't see and what you don't know is happening. And I think, any practice not using MVP is likely only seeing part of the picture. So again, MVP is not just about tracking referrals. Of course, that is a key part of what we do, but it's about being able to understand your entire business from the first appointment to conversion to revenue to long-term patient value. So instead of guessing what's happening, you actually know. For just to leave you with a little takeaway here, obviously Lanissa popped her how to get in touch with her up there. I recommend highly following her on social media and subscribing to her email list. I read every single word of every single piece of content she produces, and I always learn something and have implemented things myself as a result. So couldn't recommend that more highly. And if you're not using MVP and you're interested in better understanding what's happening with your physician referrals, what's happening with your marketing overall, and big picture, what's going on in your business, this is the way to do it. So I'd invite anyone who it might be interested in seeing more to go ahead and visit us online at myvitalspro.com or scan the QR code here, and you can schedule a demo and we'll buy you and your team coffee. So with that, I'd love to take questions. We do have a few that have popped in here, so I'm going to go ahead and get going on these. Okay, great. So the first question here is, how do I get started? Do you want to take that one, Lanissa, at least at a high level?
Yeah. So how to get started is if you think back to the very beginning, we talked about five referring doctors sending five patients a month. How do we find those five patients? Think about who's really close to you, who's within a 5 mile radius of you that could be referring to you. There's probably also somebody that you're seeing a lot of their mutual patients already. Maybe they're not referring to you, but their name is popping up a lot as a primary care doctor for your patients. It's a great opportunity for you to come in and bring an audiogram and say, hey, we saw Mrs. Smith recently, and here's how she did, and we'd love to partner with you. So thinking about people that are close to you, people that you might already have a relationship with, think about somebody that might already be referring to you as well. Maybe they refer one or two patients a month, but you know that they're busy enough that they could refer 4 or 5 patients a month. Visiting them and having communications and connections with them. So think about the people that are already referring to you, that you're already seeing mutual patients. Think about people that are close to you in proximity. Start there. You're looking for those 5 referring doctors to send 5 patients a month.
Awesome. That's great. Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a very specific question. A lot of these are getting really tactical, which I think is awesome because it means people are listening and they're going to do
Yeah.
something about what they learned today. What do you think is the best time of day to do physician marketing?
Oh, good question. Morning. I'm a fan of morning, especially earlier when the practice either opens or has just opened, before doctors get really busy seeing too many patients and before they have a chance to get behind in their schedule. Doesn't mean other times of day don't work as well, but best time is morning, right before, right after the practice opens.
Great. Okay, what you referenced technology, and of course we talked about MVP,
Mhm.
but do you have an app that you recommend to track visits and physician names, like more like a CRM type system?
Yes. So there's a couple of apps that I really love from a CRM perspective. One is called Badger Maps, and it's actually a mapping and a routing app. But it also works as a basic CRM where you can track your relationships. And the other is from Promptly, and it is their they call it PLM, Physician Liaison Management Tool. And so those are two that I like a lot.
Awesome. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but I'm pretty sure I know the guy who created Badger Maps. I think I met him when I lived in San Francisco. So you and I'll
Oh,
have to
really?
talk about
Oh,
that
yeah.
offline.
Yeah,
Yeah,
small
yeah,
world.
yeah. Okay, we have a couple questions that are sort of related, so I'll try to lump them into one. But like, what do you recommend as far as consistency? Like, is there a certain schedule? Like, how often do you suggest practice or physician liaisons go into medical practices? I'm trying to lump a few together there.
Okay, so schedule-wise for your practice internally, pick the date and the time that works for you, and I recommend that it be a consistent time block. And so adjust your schedule accordingly, and pick that time, and then just stick with it. And that's a simple solution. It's not always easy to execute. And then as far as okay, that was a two-part question, and I can't remember the second part.
Yeah, just I think it's like how often to go in, like
How
what would
often?
you define as consistency? Because I think you said be consistent. So what in a
Yeah.
perfect world, what does that look like? Yeah.
Right. So internally, yes, schedule your time blocks of when you're going to go out. How often referring doctors? I'm a fan of monthly. And so the doctors that are consistently referring, I think it's good if you see them monthly. It's often enough that you're really building that relationship and that partnership, but it's not so often that you're in there all the time and being annoying.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds great. Somebody has a question on whether we have training videos for MVP. The answer to that is yes. If you're an existing user and you're logged in at the top of your dashboard, you'll see a button that says support and it'll take you to our support center. And one of the options in there is training videos. And there's like a whole slew of them. You'll have to scroll and scroll. They're, titled based on topic. But of course, if you have a specific question or something you're looking for assistance with, don't hesitate to reach out to us, support at myvitalspro.com. And we can also always schedule a one-on-one meeting with you to go through anything that you'd like. Okay, a couple other really great questions here. So here's one that I know I've heard from folks before. So I've been calling on doctors' offices a couple times, but haven't received any response. What would you say about that, Lanissa?
Yeah. This question comes up a lot, so you're not alone. And so what happens is our tendency is we go call on somebody once or twice, and then we don't get the referrals that we're looking for. It does take about 3 to 6 consistent visits on a practice before you either A, start to see referrals, or B, start to build enough of a relationship that you're navigating your way around the practice to the decision makers. So again, it's back to that consistency. Don't get discouraged, hang in there. And it's also back to that rule of 7 with marketing. They have to hear your message 7 times. So just being consistent, even if you're not seeing the results that you want right away, consistency over time really is the key to success here.
Yeah, totally agree. That's great. Okay, here's another couple that I'm going to combine into one. What sort of material do you recommend bringing to the physicians? What are they interested in? And do you take just information? Do you take a gift? What are your thoughts on that?
So great questions. The information that you take to referring doctors, I say start with what you have. And so think about business cards. There might be some brochures that you have. Audiograms are great if you have mutual patients. And you can also even put it in an envelope with their name on it, HIPAA compliant. Don't just leave it at the front desk, though. Use that to your advantage to say, hey, I have some really important patient information that I need to share with Dr. Jones or Dr. Smith. Um, Information versus treats. Treats are always a nice gesture, but if your budget doesn't allow for it, it's not necessary. The most important thing to bring is something of value. And what does that mean? That's not monetary value, that's something valuable for their patients, which is how you can care for them, how quickly you can get their patients in, how to refer a patient to you. So bring them some kind of valuable information. Um, and that will help their practice and their patients. That's the most important thing. Was there one other part of that question that I missed?
No, I think you got
Okay,
it. Yep. No, that was
perfect.
great. Um, oh, actually, okay, somebody just asked another one. What do you think about lunch and learns? Great
Um,
question.
I think lunch and learns are great. They're a great opportunity to get past the gatekeeper, meet other people in the office. Again, that has to do with your budget. Does your budget allow it? If it allows it, then great. I recommend that you can try to do that. If your budget doesn't allow it, you don't necessarily have to do lunch and learns. And there is a tool now in some markets. It's called RX Vantage. And it is a way to communicate sometimes or set up lunches or schedule appointments with some potential referring doctors' offices. Some markets, it's really helpful. Other markets, it's not as much, but it might be something worth looking into, especially if you don't have a lot of time to get out and visit referring doctors as a way to schedule some strategic appointments.
Okay, great. Sorry, a few more questions keep
Oh, yeah.
popping in here. So, this person is asking whether you think sending reports back to physicians that have not referred to you, but I think instead maybe just the patient listed their primary on the intake form, something like that. Do you think that that's a good idea?
I think it never hurts to have your name, your logo, and your communication in front of a potential referring doctor. So,
Agree.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Mhm.
great. Okay, somebody's asking if you can put your contact information slide back up,
Oh,
Lanissa.
yeah.
So I'll just have you do that really quick so that everybody can grab that and hopefully follow you and your awesome content.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
LanissaBrantley.com. And then if you want to get on the newsletter list, it's LanissaBrantley.com/newsletter.
Perfect. That's what I recommend. I love it. Okay, great. I think we've answered all the questions that we have, at least so far. I want to thank everyone so much for being here today. Thank you, Lanissa. That was
Thank you
just
so
so,
much.
so great. And yeah, hope everyone has a great day and we'll see you all soon.
See ya. Thanks.